Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Master Builder Show. I am your host, Jim Gibson. Today's show is sponsored by the First National Bank of Weatherford. I am a graduate master builder certified by the National Association of Home Builders, also a member of the North Texas Green Building Council and the U.S. Green Building Council. Today's topic is going to be earth-sheltered homes. We're going to talk about putting dirt on top of roofs. My guests today are Tom Worley with North Texas Basements and Gene Gibson with Gibson Home Builders Incorporated. And if y'all have any questions, y'all can call us at 877-341-8950. That's 877-341-8950. And we're going to talk about earth-sheltered homes. They've been around since the cavemen. How are you this morning, Tom?
All right till that comes. he says caveman, he looks at me.
Better you than me. This I really like because Jim's been a builder for a long time. He does all kinds of specialty houses. He does beautiful construction. You're one of the few guys around that's done SIP, right?
SIPs, ICFs, just about everything.
Yeah. And they're beautiful houses, and Jim's a registered builder. In fact, we've still got a 1-acre corner lot out at Sugar Tree on the Brazos. If anybody needs a house, we're ready to build anything out there. But when Jim started researching this earth covered, I hit on something that I really like.
Well, people have all sorts of, mental pictures of what earth-sheltered homes are.
A cave.
A cave, yeah, and that's not necessarily true. I mean, you can bring light in to all of them if you just position it right. And it doesn't have to be totally underground. You can have like a wall. The perfect, direction to face is south. Isn't that correct?
Well, it depends on what you want to harvest.
Well, yeah.
If you're a morning person, you might want to point it east.
Well, you can do passive solar facing south, though, because the sun's higher in the summer than it is in winter. So if you've got enough overhang, you let the light in the wintertime and you keep it out.
And then you can do aggressive solar if you face it west.
Yeah, yeah.
So it all depends on what
but all you do
criteria
is melt here. Come on.
We want to kind of cool it here and not.
Well, tell Tom about the little house that you found that Bill Gates owned.
Oh, yeah. The richest man in the world, or at one time he was the richest man in the world, and the house he built for himself is a 50,000 square foot earth-sheltered home. And this thing is amazing. I mean, it's got it looks like a labyrinth, and you can probably go on the web and find it. That's where I found it. And
50,000 though was correct.
50,000
I told him that's
feet.
correct. That can't be possible. 50,000 is a shopping mall.
Yeah.
And then it was a 30-car garage underground. It's this mammoth swimming pool, but it's a building. All of this underground with the swimming pool and all these complexes, all this underground. And when you look at the picture from the front, it's a beautiful conventional house in the woods.
Right.
That's what you see. You don't see a fraction of what's underground.
Have you ever done any earth sheltered? I know you do a lot of basements.
I'm from Ohio, and up there was a couple of homes that were earth sheltered, but I didn't do them at the time. But what gives the earth sheltered customer something unique is the ability to be creative.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right.
Think outside of the box because the box doesn't exist down there.
Well, back during the energy crisis, during the 70s, I guess, 70s and 80s, when the long lines for the gas lines and all this other stuff, earth shelters for homes got popular back then, and they kind of phased off when everybody was buying gas again, and fuel. I mean, your utility costs weren't that bad, but now that they're increasing as far as your heating and cooling bills and total electric bills and stuff like that, people have gone back to where they're seeking out alternative ways of building and construction. And used to, the costs were quite a bit more as far as going underground because you had to move all the dirt and concrete and steel primarily. But with all the wood prices and all the prices as they are today, really you're getting real close as far as cost in construction to build underground.
Well, you're also looking at the fact now that with energy cost, you're talking green now. Green is now a big word. And everything that, I see everybody trying to do is reactive.
Mm-hmm.
Reactive to being, trying to be green by using a reactive procedure such as foaming the attic and stuff like that to cool the attic so the AC is cooler. Well, the one thing that we're not doing is being proactive, and that's going into the ground.
Right.
And I think, back from the 70s and 80s, everybody looks at Earth Bank or Earth Shelter or whatever you want to call it.
Mother Earth News.
Yeah. All you see is just a wall.
Right.
And nobody says that, yourself, you can mow a hillside.
Right.
There's nothing to say that you can't have the top of that house with a slope on it and have dirt on it.
Right.
So you can do all kinds of stuff with it.
Well, the houses that I saw on the internet, the plans, the faces of these houses, because I'm concerned about the aesthetics. I want something really nice looking. I want something craftsman style. And lo and behold, when you see the front of this house, it is exactly that. And the house underneath is cool. Dome ceilings, great height to them, great expanses, depth into the dirt. And like you said, cooling and heating becomes a whole nother program because you have geothermal to heat the place.
Yeah, it's natural.
It's
just there. All you do is let it happen.
Yeah.
We've got to take a break. We'll be back here in a couple of minutes.
Did you know that some of the best home builders in the entire nation are right here in Parker County? Hello, everyone. This is Lynn Bearden, president of First National Bank of Weatherford. Our lenders believe your family deserves the best when it comes to your dream home. First National Bank is proud to support the Master Builder Show on QXFM. First National Bank in Weatherford has been building homes in Parker County since 1880. Member FDIC and an equal housing lender.
Croft Foam Insulation and Protective Coatings has over 25 years of experience in the spray foam business, serving residential, commercial, and industrial clients. Croft Foam specializes in open and closed cell polyurethane foam applications to construction, refrigerated trailers, and even castles. Croft Foam is a Fort Worth-based company. You may reach them by calling 817-482-1664 or email at foamman@swbell.net.
North Texas Basements, 817-770-2768. With over 30 years of experience in residential construction. Add extra living area, storm protection, and extra room that will be easy to heat and cool without needing a large piece of ground to build on. Think about having a basement in your next home. North Texas Basements, 817-770-BSMT or 817-770-2768.
Fort Worth Lighting, serving Parker, Wise, Palo Pinto, and surrounding counties with a selection of interior and exterior lighting fixtures. They also have ceiling fans, mirrors, and vanities in all sizes. A lighting consultant will help you with your decisions. For an appointment with a Fort Worth Lighting consultant, the number is 817-597-6320 or the website is fortworthlighting.com. 817-597-6320 for Fort Worth Lighting.
Welcome back to the Master Builder Show. I am your host, Jim Gibson. Today's show is sponsored by the First National Bank of Weatherford. My guests today are Tom Worley with North Texas Basements and Gene Gibson with Gibson Home Builders. We're talking about earth-sheltered homes. And before we went on break, we were talking, I guess, there are many different types of earth-sheltered homes. You don't have to just build a basement and cover it up. I mean, you can face it pretty well any direction you want. And I guess they call them berm shelters, where you just push dirt up on the sides. Back on the prairie days, people, they would build their log houses and they would put a thatch, or not a thatch, but an earth roof on there, and it offered a great deal of protection.
Well, some of those pictures you showed me, part of the roof looked like it was conventional, and then the rest was underground.
It was appearances, so what they had was just kind of a fascia on there, which was a facade that gave it the appearance of a gabled.
That craftsman look that I liked.
The roof that you like, but if you actually went to the side of it and looked, it was actually all earth covered.
Oh.
And you can, like I said, there's earth berming, which is it's piled up against the exterior walls and it slopes.
I've seen them on relatively flat lots.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to be
they
the
build all
challenge.
concrete and pile dirt up against it.
Right.
So you make a hill.
Coolness. Yeah,
make your own hill. And
how far can you cut down in? Or there isn't a limit, is there?
Well,
it's expense and soil.
want to stay out of the water table.
Yeah, it depends where your water is on that spot, but you can go down whatever you want to go down.
What's the downside to going down in the earth? What about septic? What about pumping the water out and draining out?
That's not that big of a deal, because anytime we do a basement and there's bathrooms or kitchens in the basement, we put a lift in it. We put a lift, a sewer pump right down in the basement floor. But we had one that was probably 30 foot down a hill.
Yeah.
We built into the hillside with this house.
Yeah.
Conventional house with a basement. Had a two-tier basement. It was so steep. We had to build a sub-basement under the basement to hold the basement up. But the septic system, when you walk up to the house, you're almost looking at the roof line. It was a 2-story house. That's how much hill this thing was on.
Right.
So we had the sub-basement, the basement, then 2 stories.
Oh, wow.
And the septic tank was sitting in the front yard. So, and they had a bathroom in the basement. So we lifted that thing up basically 3 stories into that septic tank.
Pump.
You have to put on that. You put a grinder pump and all that.
Oh yeah. Because you got solids.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about earth berming, and then the second construction type you were talking about was in-hill construction. And that's probably the easiest way to do it, is actually pick a hill or something and just excavate and slice in. And
that's probably the easiest one, because you're not moving as much dirt. But then again, you're dictated on the face that you're going to have exposed with that hillside. If it faces north, you're going to have you're open to the north.
Right.
And that may not be what you're after. So that site might not be the site that you want for that application. But, it depends on the site. And there's advantages to pointing it about any direction.
Right.
Did the walls have to be thicker, built differently with a berm home? Because there's no conventional roof, right? It's a concrete roof?
It's a concrete roof.
Concrete.
All right. Does your concrete basement, the primary support of this structure, have to be different than a normal basement?
Not a whole lot. It really comes down to span and everything of that roof, as to what the roof thickness and everything is going to be based on the span of the ceilings and everything, and where we can bear it. And depending on that span, that roof is going to be a different thickness maybe, which may dictate a little thicker wall.
You're actually pouring beams on the roof, correct?
Well, what we'd probably be doing, and every project's different. But,
right.
Let's say you have, typically with the basement, you have you have your perimeter wall, and there might be an interior wall or something that would be constructed of concrete as well. So we could set the roof deck on top of it. But there's a system called light deck that would be fantastic for spanning that.
And what's light deck?
Light deck is a steel and foam platform, you might say, that you put on there, and you pour the concrete right on top of it.
You're pouring like a shortcrete or a lightweight concrete.
No, that's regular concrete on top of light deck.
So is there a certain PSI that you're looking for?
Oh, that comes down to the span.
The span and how much dirt you're going to put on top?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at some photos on the internet, and they had these big dozers driving across the span of the roof when they were piling dirt on it.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can go with as little as 6 to 8 inches of dirt, or you can go up to 9 feet, and it just depends on.
Well, that's the whole thing with the thickness of the concrete ceiling or roof, whatever you want to call it. It may be 8 inches thick. It may be 2 foot thick. It depends on, the shape and size of the structure.
Well, the idea of it taking a lot of weight and moisture and tree roots. If I plant Bill Gates' house, that's a forest all around it. So he's got tree roots up above his underground complex trying to invade.
We've got to take another break. We'll be back here in just a couple of minutes.
Did you know that some of the best home builders in the entire nation are right here in Parker County? Hello, everyone. This is Lynn Bearden, president of First National Bank of Weatherford. Our lenders believe your family deserves the best when it comes to your dream home. First National Bank is proud to support the Master Builder Show on QXFM. First National Bank in Weatherford has been building homes in Parker County since 1880. Member FDIC and an equal housing lender.
Alamo Appliance, 100 South Riverside Drive in Fort Worth, has been serving your needs in kitchen appliances since the early 70s. They offer Genair, KitchenAid, Maytag, Whirlpool, Amana, and many other appliances. And their sales staff is ready to help you anytime you might visit. That's Alamo Appliance, 817-531-2701. Once again, the Alamo Appliance number is 817-531-2701.
Are you having a construction-related issue? Do you need a construction attorney? If so, you may call the law firm of Kelly M. Davis and Associates. Kelly's family background in the construction industry has led to her focus in construction litigation with over 9 years of experience practicing construction law in and around the metro area. For more information, you may visit www.kmdalegal.com or you may call 972-434-8009. That's 972-434-8009. Kelly M. Davis and Associates. Principal offices are located in Louisville, Texas.
Fort Worth Lighting, serving the building professional in Parker Wise, Palo Pinto, and surrounding counties. Services include planned takeoff, site walkthrough, and delivery. For an appointment with a Fort Worth Lighting consultant, the number is 817-597-6320, or the website is fortworthlighting.com. Again, it's 817-597-6320 for Fort Worth Lighting.
Welcome back to the Master Builder Show. I'm your host, Jim Gibson. Today's show is sponsored by the First National Bank of Weatherford. My guests today are Tom Worley with North Texas Basements and Gene Gibson with Gibson Home Builders. We're talking about earth-sheltered homes today, and that is probably green building to the max. I mean, you can't hardly get any greener than that.
Well, then give me a comparison. If this is the best, SIPs, ICF, closed-cell foam, and a stick-built house, how does each one you've done all of them. I think we're about to do a berm house. I think we've really hit on something here.
After doing research, yeah, and the costs today are really not that prohibitive. Back years ago, there was a great deal of difference in cost going down in the ground versus building stick build. But now with the fuel prices up, lumber prices up, everything has gone up. The margin has decreased, and so it's really gotten economically feasible, especially when you consider that you don't have to heat it or cool it as much as you would a conventional construction. So over time, it will actually pay you back tenfold over conventional construction. So
you're saying all of them they're all comparable or close, or is this the most expensive?
No. It's probably comparable to ICF as far as expense.
Insulated concrete forms.
ICF, yes, insulated concrete forms.
Because that's effectively, what can you do? ICF underground?
Yeah, they do. They
do it. I tend to not like to see it because of its potential. Well, you have so many penetrations between the concrete with the webbing of those.
Yeah,
I see a real problem trying to seal them up good.
Yeah, and that would be a major issue.
And then with this ICF in this application, especially on the exposed wall, because you need structure there. What you've got is concrete inside a foam.
Right.
So, and what's your best for cooling factor? What's your best thermal mass? It's concrete. So in ICF, you're burying your thermal mass between foam. You still have to go on the outside and EFIS it or something, or brick it. On the inside, you still have to drywall it. Whereas we have recreated the concrete wall, giving you an option of how we build a concrete wall now.
Explain that one.
There's a group of us that have formed Concrete Wall Institute. We just filed with the state of Texas.
Yeah.
And what we've done is we've gone to a manufacturer, robotics, and we have designed a 2-inch foam panel with all the reinforcing steel on it.
Right.
It sticks out an inch, and then we've got this 2x2 wire mesh, you might say, on it. It's a rigid panel. Mm-hmm. What we do is we stand that up. We bring that on the job first. We stand that up. We actually build the house with this foam.
Inside or outside the wall?
It's in the middle of the wall. So we stand up this foam panel all the way around, let's say a commercial structure. We're bidding on some apartments right now. It'd be this whole thing all the way up. Mm-hmm. We're actually, the first product is going up right now at Harry Hines and Mockingbird right now. Some nursing homes.
Okay.
Forgive me. But what we got is we got this 2-inch foam panel with all this reinforcement right on it. We stand that up, so it looks like you've got this foam building being built.
Ice chest.
Okay?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then what we would do is your electrician and plumber comes in, puts the electrical and plumbing in the wall.
In the foam?
Well, it's on the one side of the foam.
Okay.
Then we stand our forms up. We pour 4 inches of concrete on the outside. You got a thermal break, 2 inches of foam in the middle of it. Then you have 4 inches of concrete on the inside, with all your electric and plumbing in it.
Right.
So the beauty of this now is, on the inside of the house, you got thermal mass, cool thermal mass for cooling the house right on the wall. Texture it, you're done. It's done. On the outside, what it does, I'll throw you a left curve now. On the outside, we've got concrete wall that's ready to stucco or brick.
Right.
Or berry.
Or berry.
But on this exterior panel, we can go in there and put tubing in it and use it for hydronic purposes. And
for what type of purpose?
Hydronic.
Which is?
Water flowing through pipes.
Gathering energy. Gathering energy. Okay? Floor heat. Tubing floor heat is a form of hydronic heating.
Right.
Okay? So what we can do is we can go on this exterior 4 inches of concrete, grab that sun on the west and south walls. We can preheat the water going through your water heater. We can use that exterior wall heat during the winter when the sun still comes out in the winter. When that wall gets warm in the winter, we can heat your floors in the lower level.
And it's all passive.
No, that's all.
It is. It's all passive.
Well,
with the sun heating the water, yeah.
Yeah, the way we're doing it, but yeah.
So all you have is a pump.
Yeah, certainly
you
a
don't
pump
have
thermostats.
To pump it.
So we can heat the structure.
You're heating the water with the sun hitting the concrete and warming the concrete instead of solar panels.
Right. And then we can also take a loop in there also and preheat your hot water.
And that's a big thing now too, is using the sun's energy to do a lot of this stuff, because it's there every day. Hopefully,
yep. Winter, summer, spring, fall.
Summer, and
still the solar panels are just looking at all those cars that the kids are building. The solar cars, that competition that's going on.
Photovoltaic cells, though.
Someone has to come up with a smaller photocell.
Well, they are. They've got
a
bunch of new technology out. They've got the nanotechnology, which it's got a thin skin type solar cell, and then they're developing a paint now that you can paint on a roof that will actually it has this nanotechnology in it that it acts as a solar collector. But they're not on the market yet now. The thin skin stuff is it's out, but it's being used in commercial. As commercial use only, because today's silicon panels that they're using, the big bulky things that you see, are quite expensive. I mean, you're running anywhere from $6 to $9 per watt, and you're burning kilowatts of power, and so you've got to get the cost down. But as far as heating water and all that, it's very doable and at minimal cost. They've got now what they call solar hot water in a box.
Well, we can still do geothermal. I mean, there's enough drilling going on around here. It shouldn't be hard to find anybody to drill into the ground.
Well, that's what costs
and then
you.
Pipe down in.
Well, that's what costs you on your geothermal heating units. Is most of the time your cost of drilling wells, when they're charging you $20-$25 a linear foot to go down, a lot of your cost is in your well, and your tubing goes down in the well.
Well, yeah, it depends on which geothermal you're running. If you're running a closed loop or open loop.
And I don't know.
If you do an open loop, you're pumping and dumping. That's
right.
what I always used, because I was doing geothermal back in Ohio back in 82.
What does that mean, pumping and dumping?
Pump and dump is my terminology for it.
Okay, for what?
But what we do is you have a well. Let's say you're out in the country, you have no water supply. You got to drill a well for your domestic water.
Okay.
Okay, well, you just drill that well, and you bring that into your geothermal unit, and then discharge it to a pond or some holding tank to use for sprinkler systems or whatever. Okay? Mm-hmm. And that's just called pump and dump. The beauty part of it is that water temperature that you're pulling up from, you're always harvesting from a cool water temperature. Whereas with a closed loop, you're discharging it back into those wells, and you're warming that up as you're trying to use it. So pump and dump tends to be your most efficient because your temperature source stays constant.
Well, it stays fairly constant.
But that's a waste of a lot of water.
Well, on a closed loop, you're actually just circulating it down into the well and back up, and
right.
not.
Yeah.
So you're actually, and it would take. I don't know if you could ever heat up the water table because of.
Ohio's a little different than this here, but Ohio actually they would when geothermal started, they would go out and put a closed loop, horizontal closed loop, like 3 foot in the ground because it's not supposed to freeze. Well, during the winter, the heating season was quite longer.
Right.
And they would actually freeze. By the time the dead of the winter came, they would freeze the ground. They would have frozen the ground around their tubing.
Right.
So their heat gain was negative.
Well, I know we were up in Wyoming and worked up there for a little bit, and the frost line there was 8 feet. They had if you didn't go down below 8 feet, then you had busted pipes.
Yeah, Ohio was 3.
Yeah, so it depends on your.
That's why they have basements
climate.
up there. You know that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about waterproofing on these. That's one of the main problems that you encounter on earth-sheltered housing, especially if they're fully recessed and covered with dirt.
Right.
You're going to have to waterproof it. What's your favorite type of waterproofing?
I've run into this product made by Dean Enterprises up in Colorado. And of course, they name everything Deco, but right. Deco 20 membrane. It's a spray-on polymer, and this stuff is the best stuff I've ever seen.
Well, I've heard, a lot of people say that you've got these polybutylate sheets that you lay in there in layers and stuff like that, and I've always thought that the spray-ons were better. But
you don't have any seams to deal with.
Oh, yeah, and this stuff's unbelievable. I can't get over this product. I've been up in Ohio. I was tarring walls for years, but this stuff's just unbelievable. There's national companies with a lot of PR out there, marketing. Mm-hmm. They've got these sheets you put up and everything.
Right.
And I'm just scared to death of those things. They say just backfill with dirt. I much rather, what I'm doing is using this polymer, and then we're backfilling with stone. Let that water get down to the bottom.
Mm-hmm. Right, and dissipate.
And even the Concrete Foundation Association, the CFA, has a standard of how to backfill. And it's, put the dirt in, compact it, and then put some more in and compact it. And it's just driving me nuts. Because as you're doing that, you're putting all that pressure against the wall. Mm-hmm. Plus, you've got no drainage.
Right.
And the biggest issue, people don't argue that basements fail. They always argue that they leak. Mm-hmm. So why are we putting dirt up against them? I've just been putting stone around them. We've been using 200 to 300 tons of stone.
Well, you've got drain tiles also that pull the water away and around.
Yeah, on the inside and the outside.
Right,
yeah.
Right. So you're actually drain plane away from the structure altogether.
Is that any source of water that you could capture? Is that enough volume to make that useful? If you're doing a rainwater recovery system, is this enough water you could tie into that? I mean, we're talking gallons here?
Yeah, we've got. Well, it depends on the water in the ground and on your site. But we just got done with the basement up at Eagle Mountain Lake.
Uh-huh.
And this guy is running a water recovery. We got our downspouts hooked up to our footer tile, which is going to go to the water recovery. He's draining all his gray water, his sinks and his showers to water recovery. He's going to pump that back in for his toilet use and for all his sprinklers.
Here.
And I told Michael, I says, Michael, you're going to have enough water. You're going to be able to sprinkle this whole neighborhood. He says, well, I might have to do that.
Well, off of a 1-inch rain, off of a I think it's a 2,000 square foot roof.
Right.
You can collect 3,000 gallons of water if you collect it all.
Yeah,
I mean,
what I want
it's
to do.
an incredible amount that you can store.
Yeah, but this guy's on, a hillside. It was where the house is actually sitting. There's a hillside out back. Where the house is actually sitting was flat.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like 10 foot away was where the hillside was. So we pushed the hillside out. We moved the hillside back up to this house. So he's got this hillside he's going to put on, those plastic septic tanks.
Right.
He might put 3-4 of them in line going down that hill and pump back, overflow, and then pump back up. But he's. They
actually use it's a special type of tank. They don't use the septic systems usually because the ones most septic systems have a lid. And so these are actually sealed tanks made for water collection.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he's going to use. He's still looking into that. All I know is I got the pipe to him. But he's doing that. He's going to bring all that water back in, use gray water for his toilets, and he's using pump and dump. Pump and dump's going to discharge there too. So yeah, he's going to get 2 to 3 uses out of all of his water.
Well, theoretically, water is going to be more valuable than petroleum eventually. So we have to be very good stewards of our water supply because we're dumping too much junk into the water. Surface water is changing where there's great areas where there's flooding, and then other arid areas are new and need water supplies. So I think anybody who's conscientious enough to utilize their water supply is commendable.
We've still got the same amount of water on Earth as we had 1 million years ago.
I appreciate that, but the distribution has changed.
Well, what we're doing is we have more pollutants, I guess, contaminating our water supplies now than back. Well, I know we do. I mean, all the fertilizers, the fuel spills.
Sheer volume of people.
Yeah.
Just do the math on the number of people. I mean, they blame it on cows polluting the river. But, if you've got more people eating beef, you've got more people eating beef, you've got more cows.
Well, probably our biggest pollutant in water supply is fertilizers nowadays.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, back when I was growing up, they always criticized the farmers because this guy's not a good farmer because he didn't cultivate. Mm-hmm. Well, then he stopped cultivating by using herbicides.
Yeah.
And now we've got to the point where we realize that we shouldn't eat that food. We should eat organic because of the herbicide. So it's going full circle.
I know. I appreciate that. We're going back centuries in technology. And, that's a lot of the appeal to this type of home for me, we're very much the out-of-the-box kind of people and do it right. And my research now will focus on the longevity of this building. Mm-hmm. When Jim builds a conventional house, he builds it to last generations.
Oh, yeah, it's a permanent thing.
Well, there's a lot of houses being put up now that, if they last the time of the warranty, that people are doing well.
Yeah.
And they're not energy efficient. They're not well built. They're passable. And
but they're affordable.
Yeah. And that's the downside. And the people need
yeah.
shelter. I appreciate that. It becomes a very expensive shelter in the long run. So to build something that will be energy efficient for a long period, generations, and meet all our needs is terribly appealing.
And there's a lot of trade-offs that people don't realize. You're talking Earth Bank. Okay, so you're going to spend a little bit of money going down in the ground. But look at what you're going to save on the energy side.
We've got to take another break. We'll be back here in a couple of minutes.
Did you know that some of the best home builders in the entire nation are right here in Parker County? Hello, everyone. This is Lynn Bearden, president of First National Bank of Weatherford. Our lenders believe your family deserves the best when it comes to your dream home. First National Bank is proud to support the Master Builder Show on QXFM. First National Bank in Weatherford has been building homes in Parker County since 1880. Member FDIC and an equal housing lender.
Alamo Appliance, 100 South Riverside Drive in Fort Worth, has been serving your needs in kitchen appliances since the early 70s. They offer Genair, KitchenAid, Maytag, Whirlpool, Amana, and many other appliances. And their sales staff is ready to help you anytime you might visit. That's Alamo Appliance, 817-531-2701. Once again, the Alamo Appliance number is 817-531-2701.
Are you looking for a law firm with an understanding of the construction industry? Kelly M. Davis and Associates experience includes home inspections, construction contracts, disputes with builders, and helping subcontractors or vendors that have not been paid for their services. For more information, you may visit www.kmdalegal.com or you may call 972-434-8009. That's 972-434-8009.
Kelly M. Davis and Associates. Principal offices are located in Louisville, Texas. Croft Foam Insulation and Protective Coatings has over 25 years of experience in the spray foam business, serving residential, commercial, and industrial clients. Croft Foam specializes in open and closed cell polyurethane foam applications to construction, refrigerated trailers, and even castles. Croft Foam is a Fort Worth-based company. You may reach them by calling 817-482-1664 or email at foamman@swbell.net.
Welcome back to the Master Builder Show. I am your host, Jim Gibson. Today's show is sponsored by the First National Bank of Weatherford. Today, my guests are Tom Worley with North Texas Basements and Jean Gibson, my wife with Gibson Home Builders, and we're talking about earth-sheltered homes, the different types of earth-sheltered homes. Let's talk about the advantages. First of all, you're not going to spend that much more today building an earth-sheltered home than it would in conventional construction because there's trade-offs as far as insulation, number of windows you put in. You're actually building, if you're doing it right and your design criteria is right, you are building a shelter that is storm-proof. You have no UV ultraviolet rays coming through. You're cutting out all the sun's radiation if your soil depth is at a certain level. Your heating and cooling bills will be minimal,
very minimal,
because here I think the ambient temperature of the earth is about 66 degrees year round. So what you've got to do, you may have to heat it in the summer.
You might.
I mean, if you've got to have it 70 degrees, you may have to turn the thermostat up where it heats at 4 degrees.
Yeah, that'd be tough, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. And the same thing in the winter, or just do without and suffer with the 66-degree weather.
That's why I own sweaters. I'm married to a guy that's happy with that.
I like 66
I want it 76.
Yeah, cool is good.
But what are other advantages as far as?
Have they ever been tornado?
Yeah, you're tornado proof. You're pretty well. You're
building a wine cellar,
and you're
building a storm shelter,
bomb shelter. I mean, unless you took a direct hit. Unless they had one of those bunker busters or whatever they call it.
Well, now think about this one, though.
What's that?
Next hailstorm comes through, you won't have to call your roofer.
That's true.
Here.
Okay.
The big advantage that I find with this is that there are no limits.
No, there's none.
Well, that's not quite true. The design is going to be the challenge.
Right.
Finding an architect, finding a designer, or else doing it yourself.
Do it yourself to the point where they can just Xerox it and put it on CAD for you,
Yeah.
Well, one of the biggest disadvantages today with an earth-sheltered home is resale. And that's because most people aren't thinking outside of the box. And that was listed as one of the biggest disadvantages of an earth-sheltered home. If you build one, you probably need to live in it for the rest of your life. I'm sure there's some people out there that would like to buy one, but for some reason there's a stigma about living underground.
Yeah, but
for some people, I think it's just aesthetics.
But like anything, everything has its own life. Just like the hybrid cars, like we were talking about a little earlier when we were off the air. I mean, years ago nobody would even think about a hybrid cars. They only go 20 mile an hour. They only go 10 miles. Or, everything's got a cycle. So, maybe today they might have a little bit of a stigma to them, but there's a lot of good to talk about earth-sheltered home.
Well, back years ago, we used to do a lot of cave exploring, and we'd drive in the summertime. Well, in a lot of the caves we'd go into, you couldn't go in the summer because the carbon dioxide levels would come up. But I was always amazed that you go down there and it would be 20 degrees outside. You get inside the cave and you're sweating. I mean, if you're doing a lot of activity, you're 66 degrees or 60 degrees, whatever the cave temperature was. And we would be in those things. A lot of them we'd go in and explore, and we might be in there for 8 to 10 hours climbing around these things. And I was always impressed that the temperature was always great, no matter when you went in it.
It was always the same.
It was always the same, always comfortable.
I didn't even think about resale because we were planning on building and staying put. But one of our advertisers is Jim Keener, circleofwealth.com. And I just got a copy of his new book. And it's all about leveraging your assets. And your biggest asset, 99% of the people, is their home and their mortgage, and how to utilize the equity in your home. Well, if you're building equity that you can't tap into, that would be a concern.
Well, you know, if I was living in California now, I think if I ever built a house there with the extremes that they have one way or the other, your earth-sheltered home, another advantage is it's fireproof. Dirt doesn't burn.
Dirt and concrete do not.
No, they don't, and so you're pretty well insulated away from fires. High winds are not going to affect it. It's not going to blow down. There's so many pluses to these things that I can't even imagine.
You have to weigh
them,
though. I'm a spreadsheet kind of a gal that I would like to see all the pluses and the minuses. And the other thing I brought up to you was that if 75% of the house is enclosed in the earth, there's no windows there, that a lot of people now get winter blues. And it's legitimate, and you do special lighting. So that's something else to build into the plans of this house, is to have that special lighting throughout the place.
Well, you could use solar tubes. There's all sorts of ways that you could bring in
it
lighting.
in, but it's a legitimate deficiency.
Well, the other thing is you can always go out with an L-shaped L-shaped building. And shallow depths on those L shapes, or something.
You're saying the inside of the L is exposed?
Yeah, and the depth of, because the further you get back into the dirt, the harder it is to get light to it. Right. So come out with a U shape or an L shaped building, and then have those sections shallow. So you're basically like, say, we always call it, let's say maybe a room and a half deep. Mm-hmm. And then you're into the dirt.
Well, a lot of these totally recessed homes where you're actually living in a basement, they're telling you to build an atrium type or a courtyard.
In the middle?
In the middle, where you're actually building a circle or a square with it open in the middle, kind of like in Star Wars back when they were living in the desert. Mm-hmm. All their homes were, I'm going back quite a few years, but they had the home there in the desert that was actually recessed, and they had a courtyard. Mm-hmm. That's how they got all their light in the house, was through that courtyard. Yeah. And I was thinking, well, are you actually building a pond, or are you? How would you do that and not? Because sometimes we get torrential rains here, and you're building that courtyard. You're just draining it away, just like you drain away a basement. You wouldn't have any other.
You'd have your footer pipe down there. Put it, with stone to drain it. You plant a tree down there, and we'll be fine.
We've got to take another break. We'll be back here in just a couple of minutes.
Did you know that some of the best home builders in the entire nation are right here in Parker County? Hello, everyone. This is Lynn Bearden, president of First National Bank of Weatherford. Our lenders believe your family deserves the best when it comes to your dream home. First National Bank is proud to support the Master Builder Show on QXFM. First National Bank in Weatherford has been building homes in Parker County since 1880. Member FDIC and an equal housing lender.
Alamo Appliance, 100 South Riverside Drive in Fort Worth, has been serving your needs in kitchen appliances since the early 70s. They offer Genair, KitchenAid, Maytag, Whirlpool, Amana, and many other appliances. And their sales staff is ready to help you anytime you might visit. That's Alamo Appliance, 817-531-2701. Once again, the Alamo Appliance number is 817-531-2701.
Are you looking for a law firm with an understanding of the construction industry? Kelly M. Davis & Associates experience includes home inspections, construction contracts, disputes with builders, and helping subcontractors or vendors that have not been paid for their services. For more information, you may visit www.kmdalegal.com or you may call 972-434-8009. That's 972-434-8009.
Kelly M. Davis and Associates. Principal offices are located in Lewisville, Texas.
Alamo Appliance, 100 South Riverside Drive in Fort Worth, has been serving your needs in kitchen appliances since the early 70s. They offer Genair, KitchenAid, Maytag, Whirlpool, Amana, and many other appliances. And their sales staff is ready to help you anytime you might visit. That's Alamo Appliance, 817-531-2701. Once again, the Alamo Appliance number is 817-531-2701.
Welcome back to the Master Builder Show. I am your host, Jim Gibson. Today's show is brought to you by the First National Bank of Weatherford. My guests today are Tom Worley with North Texas Basements and Jean Gibson, my wife, with Gibson Home Builders Incorporated. We've been talking about earth-sheltered homes, and the thing that they were talking about right before the break was how we got light into them, and we were talking about even in a fully recessed earth-sheltered home, you can put a courtyard or an atrium in the center of it, and have light. Swimming pool. You could put a pool out there in the atrium, and still be totally underground. So you still got the benefits of all the heating and cooling efforts that you're.
And all the rooms open onto the
All
center
the rooms
courtyard.
open onto the center courtyard.
And you have the rooms on the exposed wall plus rooms going up against that courtyard. But you could have. Like we were talking off air, you have that foyer on the exposed wall. Come in and you look through the foyer right into that courtyard. The kitchen up against the courtyard. Bedrooms up against the courtyard.
Yeah, you're talking about building into a hillside now. You're talking about walking up to the front of it where it looks like a conventional house, basically.
Or either that, even if your land is flat, you could still create a hillside. If your land was perfectly flat, you slice in and you create that and just grade it way out.
Yeah, it depends on the piece of property.
Yeah.
But you can, you can pretty well. What are some of the criteria that you couldn't build on as far as earth, as far as the dirt? You couldn't build in marshes or any type of.
It really comes down to the PSI of the dirt. Now, if you got open to where you can drain everything, the water table problem disappears because you can drain it.
Right.
If you got a walk-in basement, you might as well say walk-out basement or whatever. Your drainage problem on water table is gone.
Right. On a